And
Yes.
I would assume you were using, so maybe talk, I don't know how much you want to talk about it, but like when you manifested your specific somebody,
Yeah.
um, were you kind of using the feelings of it too? Like, and how far
Yeah.
into the relationship were you as far as where you were imagining it?
Well, I was imagining being together. I was imagining, see, where my blocks were at the time was I'm in Sydney, he's overseas, there's a huge gap physically. I'm actually working, I'm only allowed a certain amount of weeks off per year. How am I going to have a relationship when I actually can't break free long enough to be able to sustain going back and forth? Do I want to live in another country? I had all these sort of blocks in the way, and I thought, okay, how am I going to, like, what the heck am I going to imagine so that I can bypass all this? And I knew I didn't have to work out the in-between part. All I had to do was let go of the in-between part.
Now,
And that was really hard.
I know what you're saying, and I think I get it, but for anyone that's listening or watching, why did you know that you didn't have to worry about the in-between? All the connecting, all the dots, crossing the T's, dotting the I's. Why didn't you have to worry about that? I know the answer, but I want to hear you.
Good. Yes, good question. Well, the how, if you focus on, which is the living in the end, which is what is the end result,
Right.
then the steps and the way it unfolds will fall into place of its own accord. That's how creation happens. You get out of the way and stop thinking that you can tinker around and make it happen.
Right.
But that's the hardest part for so many.
It really is. You're right, because that's where a lot of our mental blocks are, is I'm not making enough money, or I don't have the right house, or I don't have this, I'm not I fancy enough car to get the girl that I want, whatever the case is. And it's like, well, don't worry about all that. First off, the person's going to love you. They're going to love you for who you are anyways. But second off, things are going to work out if they need to in advance. And just, like you said, living in the end, living as if you've got already what you're trying to manifest or what you wish to experience or have. When you're already there, universe, source, whatever, really fills in the blanks for you. And it's amazing. And when you finally let go and get the heck out of the way of yourself, it's amazing what stuff can start to happen in your life. So sorry, back to, so how long did it take you probably start to finish? You started imagining your significant other.
It took quite a long time, because I could not work out how I was going to bridge the work gap enough to be able to travel back and forth. That was frying my brain. So what I did was I just said, okay, I'm going to just imagine being there, enjoying time with that person, and doing really ordinary everyday things, going to a cafe, having a meal, going to a movie, watching TV on the couch together, holding hands. I just did really basic, simple things. So I did that, and then I did a lot of self-love meditations, because it's so easy to when you've got a gap between you and the person, that you go into some feeling of, I don't feel loved, I don't feel worthy, I don't feel secure. And I thought, I've got to bypass all this, and I've got to feel loved, I've got to feel worthy, and I've got to feel secure, because that's what I'm really, really after. And I've got to get to that feeling place, because that's the new state of being.
Yes, actually, yeah, very good. And that's one, I think that speaks volumes to some of the healing. Like I recently just did a show on doubts, and how doubts are actually kind of magical, because they do show us some of the blockages that we get to work through. But on top of that, and I think the other really key point that you brought up that I think is really important for other people when you're trying to manifest, especially something major, a relationship is in that line, and major, I probably shouldn't label it as such, but something that's maybe a little bigger than a parking place or a green light or whatever. But it's the fact that just keep working at it until it happens. If it's something that's truly important to you and really matters to you, would it be worth doing imaginal exercises for a month, for 5 months? If you really desire to have it, keep at it, and you will be surprised, because you actually do start to see things happen along the way that give you indications that, it's starting to kind of work itself out. This is weird.
Yeah. That's true. And also, people will often say in the threads of the YouTubes, so if I do this, how long do I have to do this before it happens? And I go, well, I'm not a psychic.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah. 23 minutes.
I can't actually measure your belief barometer.
Right.
You know, so I laugh because I think, God, I wish I had the answer to that. But, you know, you just do it until it happens. And I mean, some of my things have taken 3 to 4 years.
Right.
Like,
and here's the sad part. We talk about not going to psychics, right? So if you were able to give them that answer, that may be where they're at right now, but it might not be what they want to hear, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, you know, I mean, some things you'll manifest really quickly.
Yes.
Because you haven't got the handbrake on. You
well,
know?
and you don't have a doubt problem with it.
Yeah, or you've got a bit of doubt, but it's kind of believable. But for me, going, okay, I'm going to have a relationship with someone in another country that's a 24-hour flight from where I am, and I'm going to work out how to create money so that I can go back and forth and not be bound to a job that I can therefore not have a relationship.
Right.
And I didn't want to be, I didn't have this thing that I want to move to that country and I want to live there full time. I wanted to be able to go back and forth because I love Sydney, Australia, and I wanted to be, you know, my family's in the south of France where I was born, and then, you know, my person's in London. So It was like I could see this triangle. I always had in my head imagining this triangle going between the 3 places. So I kept seeing this triangle, and I kept seeing the 3 words: Sydney, London, south of France, Sydney, London, south of France.
It worked out perfect. I mean, which is funny is that friend of mine actually just is flying back right now from London.
Really?
Yeah, she was out there for 10 days, so I thought that was pretty funny. So.
Wow, there you go.
And you end up out there. That's kind of how I found you, so it was very ironic.
Yeah.
Well, very cool. I really appreciate the chance to talk with you. It'd be fun to do this again, definitely. Sometime.
Well, you know what? I had this thing in my head. We could do it like once a month and pick different topics. Because I love doing YouTubes, but it's so nice to have the to and fro and working out the mechanics of things together. That I think is where people really learn, because they see the inner workings of 2 people's minds and different questions pop up. So yeah, if you want to do that, I'm open.
I would love to do that. It would be wonderful. And yeah, this was what's really funny is you remind me of my aunt. And it's like my favorite aunt out of all my relatives. So that was like the first thing I saw when I looked at you. I'm like, she looks just like my aunt. How funny. So I would love to do more stuff with you, though. That would be outstanding. And I really appreciate you taking your time to do this with me.
No
but just definitely we should do more of this.
Well, when that person told me about you and I saw it, I just instantly got I like that guy. He's got a sense of humor, and he's doing, because when I heard Living in the End, my ears pricked up and I went, that's
well, I totally got that from you, so I plugged the heck out of your show, and I'm like, you guys got to go to her channel. She's better at this than I am. Shoot, but I love the way you describe it, and you've just got such an awesome format that works out really well. I mean, you talk about it, you do a little reading from the book sometimes, and then I love the way you respond back to your people. It's very cool, and you've given me a lot of really neat ideas as well. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
and obviously, I had to write down your name phonetically so I would say it correctly. It's so awesome. And it's Vivarelli, right?
Yeah, Agnes Vivarelli.
That's Italian, or is that French?
Yeah, my surname's Italian,
okay.
But I was born in France, and I grew up in France when I was actually young, parts of my growing up. So I have no connection to Italy, and I've got all my connection to France where my relatives are.
Well, either way, you're drinking wine. That's the important.
And eating lots of pastry.
There you go. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for doing this, though.
Yeah, good. No, I like it. It's good. It's working. It works well. Hey.
I think so, too. Yeah, this worked out really well. I'm curious to see how the recording comes up, but it should be good. Yeah. I didn't get to use my normal microphone. I'm going to figure out how to work that into our next one. But, this came out good.
Yeah. We'll get better as we go on.
Absolutely.